All right, and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DeathStryke Media's Forest Friday show. It is Friday. We're talking some Star Wars. I got on an Imperial hat thanks to the mad seamstress herself, Nikki Powers. Go check him out. We'll have a link to her stuff in the description. But I am joined today by my two panelists. There's only three of us, so two panelists. On the far end, I've got James Armstrong. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Currently reading Fight Club for the first time, having only seen the movie, and hopefully I won't get into a mindset where I want to burn all my stuff.
Well, that would be terrible, considering you probably have some really good Batman
You're
stuff.
also looking a little shaggy, so
yeah, the beard needs a trimming, so
that's the effect of the book, right? It just gets you so involved with it, you just sort of,
yeah, a little bit.
start questioning everything.
I got the soundtrack on in my car right now, just driving up I-35, listening to Fight Club music, and wanting to fight somebody.
Someone who usually wants to fight somebody. We got the person in the middle. We got Sean Sharp. How you doing?
Better than I deserve, of course.
All right.
And you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Again, I've got my new hat, courtesy of the Mad
very
Seamstress.
sharp.
It is.
Badass.
It's very imperial. It's funny. I was driving with it, and the brim comes down to a point, right? And you have to look up, so you got to look like you're like full of yourself and an ass, like an imperial. So it works out really well. Now I know why they're designed this way, is to give you that stiff upper lip and that proper English style. So you can go, "You there! You're wrong. I'm right." So, it works out very well.
You did not properly use a turn signal.
Actually, the main thing I would point out is his T-shirt with the
yeah.
and Texas on it.
Size is accurate.
Size is accurate, so you can see how massive Texas is.
That's right. Yeah, we are the sinner that blows up Alderaan. Just throwing it out there.
We're like a small moon.
Anyway, if you're the first time with us, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're a returning subscriber of ours, all 47 of you, 48 of you now, thank you so much. Well, welcome back.
Make it to 50.
That's halfway.
50.
That's halfway to our first goal is to 50. 100's our first goal, so we can change our URL from that alphanumeric nonsense to DeathStryke Media. Let's make it happen, folks. Anyway. If you're joining us, what happens here is we've got a couple of Star Wars stories, about 5 or so. In this case, we have 4, but they're good ones. We just simply talk about them and have some fun and poke fun of each other and probably learn a history lesson or two along the way. And we're just going to jump right into it with the first story. And once you know it is a Han Solo story, but it's not really a bad story. They're starting to turn things around. Ron Howard's doing his job. However, it has been noted that there might be a comedic overtone with the Last Jedi. No, not Last Jedi. With the Han Solo film. In a discussion with Entertainment Weekly, Woody Harrelson had mentioned that the guy portraying the classic Harrison Ford Han Solo, he has some acting chops and he has a good comedic timing, and he does have that in the movie. Now the big question is, should Star Wars, let alone a standalone Han Solo film, have a comedic overtone or be funny? I've got some thoughts, but I'd love to have what you think down there, James.
Yeah, well, to have Woody Harrelson's stamp of approval means something.
Yeah.
This is the guy who was on Cheers for, 7 or 9 years, however long that show was on. So the guy knows his comedy.
Yeah.
It would really just depend on what type of humor it is. Because, for like a Star Wars example, I liked the humor of Force Awakens the first time I saw the movie, but upon rewatch, it really took me out of the movie.
Was it too Jar Jar Binksy?
No. The humor was just a little too meta. They were constantly reminding me of moments from the first movie. Do you remember the trash compactor from the last movie?
I see.
Do you
Yes,
remember
yes.
the training ball in the Falcon from the first movie, or the chess set, the chess set from the first movie? Just references like that take you out of the movie, especially. And that's especially harsh for Star Wars because it's all about escapist entertainment, escapist sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
You don't want to remind your audience that this fantasy that you're looking at on the big screen is a movie. So,
I do have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, but that's just an example of how I hope the Han Solo movie doesn't do its humor. I'm hoping they get it right, that it's not just witty one-liners. It could be some kind of physical humor. Me being me, I would always use Batman Begins as the perfect example of a movie being serious, but still having a bit of a funny side. It's certainly funnier than the 2 sequels that came after it, but I would reference the scene with the Batmobile running away from the cops, and it smashes through the parking lot, and this guard looks at his coffee like he thinks it's spiked or something, and then the Batmobile backs up into a parking space that says compact car only. Just little stuff like that.
I'm sure
should
it'll
make
have,
the movie complete.
I'm sure it'll have that as well. But I also like the humor in The Force Awakens. I know some of it was a bit on the nose. Some of it was trying to get you to connect back to New Hope. I totally get that. But I liked some of Finn's lines, like "You got a boyfriend? You got a cute boyfriend?" To me, that clicked with me. I thought that was funny because that has never been said anywhere in Star Wars. I'm like, that's funny because she's kind of cute, and that's exactly what I would be thinking.
I guess
Go Finn.
I guess if you're a stormtrooper who just mutinied, you kind of want to find a chick.
You want to find your avenues quickly.
Exactly. How about you, Sean? Han Solo funny? Yay or nay?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about that. On one hand, there was always an element to the original, trilogy, and some of the most quotable lines came from Han Solo.
Yep.
Some of the, and the whole smirk and a blaster was kind of like a catchphrase of the '80s, kind of a diplomacy issue. I just have a fear is like, are we going to degenerate into competing with Guardians of the Galaxy? That was my first thought when I was reading over it. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy is its own animal and it's fun because they built it to be that fun, whereas. Han Solo being humorous or having humorous elements, I'm for, but it's still Han Solo. This is the origin story. Where does this shady smuggler character kind of come from? I'm expecting more Miami Vice kind of vibe, not necessarily Cheers vibe.
Yeah.
So Woody Harrelson for me saying, "Oh, the guy's got great, comedic chops and great timing." I'm like, I don't take that as a good thing. I want maybe it's my dystopian view of the world. Maybe I wanted a little grimmer and grittier. I was actually always wanting a Han Solo film a little more noir. So I'm always leery about the comedy. Now, I might be eating my words with all the popcorn I'll be eating when I go see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm willing to say
hands full of popcorn.
Hands full of popcorn, yeah.
But yeah, no, I like the humor that we're getting into, that we were left with in the Force Awakens. I know I just said that. However, I just thought about another scene where it really wasn't. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but I found it funny when Finn and Rey were trying to fix the Falcon, and he's like, "I need this part, I need this piece." No. No. That to me was hilarious.
That was fine,
and it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it had good comedic timing. And if they translated that particular style of humor over to the Han Solo film, that could work very well. Where it's not too much. There's no jokes. It's just a lot of good timing. So that to me would be excellent. And I have a feeling that with Ron Howard and Woody Harrelson, and then of course Woody Harrelson is fantastic at being a comedic actor. I mean, look at Zombieland, right? He was great in that, but that was a comedy horror thriller, comedy horror film, and pretty much everything he said was just fantastic. It was well written, and I have a feeling that a lot of that writing, it was also him coming off as the character himself, bringing a lot of him to it. So I have high hopes that he will do the same thing and kind of teach and guide Alden Ehrenreich on how to do that. So I have my hopes of not too funny, but just enough grit with some humor to sort of pepper in there. So
I think that one example I would go with, if I had to pick a movie that had the right balance of all that, and this could lead into the Han Solo movie, go with the tone of Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. I
had that exact same thought.
Hope it could be that.
Yeah. That one's just right. If Alden Ehrenreich and Woody Harrelson can even come within a halfway point of having the right chemistry that Harrison Ford and Sean Connery had, I think this movie's all set.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking that too, but I was keeping it in the Star Wars vein. But you were absolutely correct on nailing that humor, but with action and with suspense and with the thrill that we're gonna get, that we should get with the Han Solo film. It's perfect.
On that, I would say it's more Indy 1, not Indy 3. The Last Crusade. I thought the comedy was better in Indy 1.
Yeah.
That I thought
they're all good.
They're all good.
Yeah.
It's like
except for that fourth one that didn't count.
What fourth one?
Exactly.
So I would be hoping more for Indy 1, not Indy 3, but it's just with the current director, of course, Mr. Howard. I have tons of faith in him.
Yeah.
Just because of the work he's already done. So I think that'll be more of the subtle humor. It's going to be more leaning towards that.
I think so too. But I would not be opposed with a nice witty joke here and there either. So that's just me personally. I like to laugh. I love comedies, and I know having a comedy Star Wars film is not exactly in the cards, but I love comedy. So it's what I would like to see, not necessarily what is best for the universe. So. But we'll keep it in the vein of switching directors and switching people around. Episode 9 actually has a new writer coming in. Now, this isn't a big surprise in Hollywood. A lot of times when you have a movie that's far out in advance, like, like Episode 9 is, you have a set director and a set writer who are supposed to be working on this film from guidance from the previous director. Say, in this case, it was Rian Johnson, said, hey, here's the outline of the story going forward. Do with it what you want. Have fun. Bye. And so Colin Trevorrow was like, cool, great. He and his writing partner wrote the script out, but apparently it's now going to be worked on, rewritten, somehow made better by a new writer by the name of Jack Throne. And Jack Throne he's not new to writing. He's been writing some good fantasy stuff around. He worked on and wrote the theatrical edition of the Harry Potter universe with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So he knows how to write a good story and have it portrayed by actors on a stage. Now, how that can continue onto a film is one other thing. However, I am not worried about having a new writer come in. Sean, are you worried about having a new writer come in this early in the stage of pre-production?
Actually, no. I'm more confident of a project if the writer gets on board sooner.
Yeah, I agree.
Unlike, we brought in this strange winger who has a bourbon issue and, shows up the last minute chain smoking and, hammers something out.
That's a great segue. Not in Star Wars.
No, especially with this writer. I did do a little research on him. He has a lot of depth with BBC.
Yes, a lot of work with BBC.
A lot of work with BBC, and a lot of it was very critically acclaimed drama, and also dealing with some really dark subjects. I think one of the things that got really pinged on a high notes was dealing with racism in the 80s with This Is England.
Okay.
Was one of the works that he had worked on
before.
before.
I'll have to look at that one up.
Also on Skins.
See, Skins, I didn't realize he wrote on. I watched, so if you're not familiar with Skins real fast, it is a British television show that was actually on a channel called E3 or 3E, I forget the channel, but it was about teenagers going through, it wasn't high school, it was a
junior high.
It was a community college style after high school.
Prep school.
Kind of, sort of, whatever they do in London or England. But it was dramatic, well written, and well directed, well produced, and had a lot of that teenage drama that we can't get in the States because we're too afraid. But it was wonderful. Loved all of it. All of it. It was good.
Well, that's just a huge vote of confidence. If you have someone that's been working on that level of quality, that to me is like, I feel really good about this.
Yeah.
And that makes me go, what is he going to unleash upon us? And like, yes, please break my heart, take it a different direction than what I am expecting. That's
kind of how he did what he did in Skins. If he helped write it, and that's great. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, it's not like they're doing a page one rewrite of everything.
Yeah, that's not how they're phrasing it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so Rian Johnson, he's still working on episode 8, and Colin Trevorrow, he has other stuff to do as he's prepping for episode 9. I think it only makes sense for you to bring in a professional guy to turn a treatment or an idea into a screenplay.
Or say you already had that script written. It's like you need someone who can come in and kind of maybe polish up a few things.
That happens.
Have another set of eyeballs on the script going, hey, this is a dead end. What about this thing? Or, we can't do this because of this over here that maybe you didn't know about. Because remember, all of these films, books, stories, comics are all tied in together. So if there's a continuity issue somewhere and you don't catch it and it makes it into your film, you are doomed. Doom on you. Anyway. But I'm not worried at all either. There's actually a funny saying is if you have a writer who leaves a project and they hire another writer, at least that project's going to get made, right? So with that thinking, it's still really, really early. I mean, we haven't even had episode 8 come out yet,
right?
Yeah, so we have another. Then episode 8, Han Solo, and then Ep 9 comes out. So we have at least 2 years. Right before they even start probably actual production, maybe a year and a half before they actually.
It's like May of
production.
2019 when this is coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe they have to go back and maybe rewrite some of the Carrie Fisher bits that they didn't that they couldn't quite get right after her passing. Maybe there's some other stuff that they need to go back and fix, and maybe this guy has some really good creative ideas to do that. Again, I just think this is a story trend that kind of in the vein of the Han Solo stuff that people are kind of like, well, maybe we should be afraid because of this other drama. I think it's way too early to be afraid of this.
Just me being superstitious, I do want to point out that the Star Wars movies that have been scheduled for December, they haven't had any real drama behind the scenes. You schedule Han Solo for May, of 2018, and the director's fallout. And Star Wars Episode 8 is scheduled for May of 2019.
And we already got a new writer.
What if this story comes back to bite us in the butt, several months from now when they are getting going with the movie? May might turn out to be a cursed month for this new trilogy. I don't know.
It's because the prequels are released.
This new
the prequels are still casting a shadow.
Yeah, there we go.
over the new trilogy. No, that'd be hilarious if that was true. That would be very interesting. Either way, wherever they put Star Wars, I know a lot of fans are like, no, you got to keep it in May. It's a traditional month. That's where all the originals were released. That's Star Wars month. It killed it in December, these last two films. Then you had Rogue One, and then you had Force Awakens. They killed it. Absolutely destroyed the box office.
But it's also a different world. It's like, sorry, we don't drive with leaded gas anymore.
Yeah.
We don't think T-tops are cool anymore. So, moving it to another timeline.
Well,
see, but that helps us in Texas, because when we go to a midnight premiere, we're not standing out in 104-degree weather at midnight. I'd rather freeze, but that's me.
A coworker of mine also had a comment on this
what is
on this news. Well, not so much the writing, but the release date, which is the movie is coming out May 27th of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
They can't move it to May the 4th of 2019 and make it come out on Star Wars Day.
What day of the calendar is that?
I don't know, but they can't move it closer at least.
If it's a weekend day, or if it's not a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday, Thursday or Friday.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna fact check myself early. I'll go ahead.
Yeah, it's too early to sort of sit there and say, oh, we need to worry about already episode 9 because
they got tons of time.
Cool your jets, man. Pull a Bart Simpson and just cool your jets.
It's also the fact that he's worked with was it John Boyega?
What's the day, sir?
I apologize.
What's the calendar day?
Okay, May 4th of 2019 is a Saturday.
Can't release it on a Saturday.
Bring it out the day before. Day before.
They're gonna release it on a Thursday at midnight.
But still, like May the 4th, it's a Saturday. That's when you get most of your box office anyway. That's the busier day of the weekend.
So what you're saying is release it that weekend.
Right there.
So what they need to do is release it.
Oops, sorry.
You need to release it on Thursday.
That was me tapping on Saturday.
Thursday the 2nd, so you can start partying.
That's right.
Thursday the 2nd, and then finally
all weekend.
Wake up Monday the 5th after the.
So it's Revenge of the 5th.
Revenge of the 5th.
There.
Saw exactly where I was going with it.
See,
Disney, we know what we're doing.
We figured this out.
Revenge of the 5th. Revenge of the 5th.
That. If only Ep 8 was going to do that, because Ep 8 is going to be the darker side. So that would be more perfect. So you had Revenge of the 5th. Anyway, you heard it here, folks, guys. It'll happen. Make it happen. Start your petitions online. Go do it. Now we're going to jump into our next story. This is a very long story. We may talk about it for a hot minute, and that's fine. It involves John Boyega sort of speaking his mind on the adventures of Finn that he has to kind of go through in episode 8. And he also mentions about Carrie Fisher and how he found out. But we're going to start with the happy news first about Finn's adventure. Speaking with IGN, Boyega actually states that, it's like, imagine you work at McDonald's. That's a horrible place to work. I've never worked there, but I never wanted to. Anyway, you push your manager into a chute compactor. And then a year later, you decide to go back dressed as one of your colleagues, or one of the colleagues there, and it's not the best situation. There's a lot of chasing. There's a mission that needs to be completed, but isn't necessarily something that doesn't come without a fight, and it's something that he's gonna have to face for himself. Now, understanding that about. Maybe you've worked at a job that you didn't like, but maybe you want to go back and sort of spy on them. How would you feel about that? Just mentally, how would you feel about going back to a place where you didn't really want to work anymore?
Well, I've never worked at a McDonald's, but I did work at a Sonic, and I was always worried about accidentally locking myself in the meat locker or the meat freezer. Yes. I never wanted to be in that room for more than like 5 seconds. It is cold.
Cold. A lot of horror movies start that way too.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, luckily there weren't any hooks or anything on the wall.
It's not a slaughterhouse.
But no, I like how it's alluding to Finn meeting up with Captain Phasma, because he's the one he had, she's the one he had shoved down the trash compactor. Yep. So I'm liking that Finn's going to get his own mission here. I loved the look of the casino that we saw in the behind-the-scenes video. Yeah, it looks like good stuff. As far as going back to spy on another job, I have a job that I won't mention that I've gone back and forth repeatedly with over the years, and I've dropped in on him on occasion, and it's always fun just to see how the old place is doing. Actually, at this one particular place, I had hung up my uniform in the break room, and I had actually put a little tag on it with a quote I had taken from the first Thor movie, which was, "Whoever wears this uniform, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of James." And I came back a year later, and God bless him, my uniform was still hanging in the exact same spot.
No one was worthy.
No one was worthy.
No one was worthy.
How about you, Sean? You ever visited a place where you hated?
I actually have a story about that.
All right.
It's a little darker than James's, but I was going to say, what about you? Because before I get into that.
Going off of this, I have gone back and forth with a particular employer. Not that the place of business is bad. I just didn't get along with the employers. The employers are okay, but I do go back from time to time still and wonder how things are going. Like on the business side of things, will I ever work there again? No, I will not. It's not if you paid me. Well, you could probably pay me a really big sum of money. Man,
Name your price.
Take a large amount.
It'd take a very large amount to do. But it does sound like Finn is actually going to get his own adventure. He's going to go off on his own. I know he is going to hook up with Rose. There's another character coming out named Rose. She's actually a mechanic in the Resistance. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me like a lot of what we saw in some of the behind the scenes, and with this story, that they probably will hook up. They probably will go on an adventure together where they have to do some espionage work, some spy work, and they have to go back into and infiltrate the First Order. And he's probably like, "This is a bad idea," or "I've got a bad feeling about this." So to me, it's excellent. It's exactly what I want to see. I like seeing those little side adventures of characters. Not I'm saying this is a side adventure. I'm saying this is probably a very pivotal point in the story. But I'm happy to see a character that, he was kind of developed and he was introduced to us in a movie and then kind of looked like he was cut down by a lightsaber, but finally getting his own major big story in the Resistance. I like that a lot. But you've had an interesting story apparently.
Well, how interesting it is. I did work for it was a Fortune 500 company that basically no longer exists. They had to basically restructure. But I actually got fired from this place, and I was actually one of those scenarios where I've only been fired once in my life, really. I mean, out and out fired.
Yeah.
Other than me going, well, I'm turning my 2 weeks, I'm going to work it out. We're having a party in other ways. This was more of an issue of just out and out fired. But the thing is, I got to come back at them for their business practices as actually part of a class action lawsuit against them.
Nice.
And it was due to the fact that the corporation was refusing to pay overtime pay for all their employees. And this was a Fortune 500 company. And if you think about the number of people, they basically were defrauding their overtime pay.
Yeah, I understand that.
And that's one of the reasons they're no longer around.
Huh.
And I got to go back the last week they were open here in Austin and visit the very manager that had fired me and go, "So how's unemployment looking for you?" And give everyone there literally the 2-fingered salute.
Nice.
And go, I hope I find you on the street one day in the crosswalk kind of scenario discussion. Now I'm keeping it edited.
Yeah.
But I had a great time. And said, "See you guys here soon."
Yeah, it's you have a very satisfied feeling when you leave a company, either when you're fired or you leave voluntarily, and then that company that you left, even if you liked it or didn't like it, that just tanks, and you're like, I am not gonna, I already got a job. Good luck in the unemployment line, guys.
I was holding you guys up.
Yeah.
You were holding me down.
Exactly.
You were holding me down.
That is a good feeling that did happen to me. I got a job and then learned that the company was actually shut down. And I was like, well, it's a good thing I wasn't here for the giant flood of people going for the unemployment line. So found me a job. Anyway, we're going to get into the John Boyega, Carrie Fisher comments, sort of a somber thing, but it's time has passed and it's a good thing. Speaking on Carrie Fisher, John Boyega was not, he was not in LA or Hollywood or with his other Star Wars folks when he was informed of Carrie Fisher's passing. He was actually away. He did say he was in Nigeria when he found out about her death, and it was a strange feeling, and I felt like everyone on set afterwards was a bit silent after that. But he says this movie sends her off. Speaking of The Last Jedi.
Oop. Intruder.
And we have an intruder in the studio. That's fine.
Sophie.
Since Carrie Fisher off in an amazing way, I wonder what way they're talking about.
Yeah.
And
That stood out.
Yeah, that exactly. Sends her off in an amazing way. He did say amazing, so it's one of those things. Like, what do they mean? Sean, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know. My only thought is the old what was then Legends canon story where Chewbacca dies because he gets basically hit by a moon.
Yeah.
And it's always was the joke in the circles of, Star Wars geekdom, the underground before it was okay to be in the Star Wars.
Bang, zoom, straight to the moon.
Yeah, kind of thing that no one can top that. No one can top that. It took a whole moon to take out Chewbacca.
Exactly.
He was that cool, it took a whole moon to take him out. So for it to be an amazing, double amazings there, I just wonder if it's going to be something that there are going to be a lot of like wet eyes in the theater.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she's going to give one hell of a performance. I think that she has a big pivotal role in this movie. However, this is obviously her last known role, so they'll probably do something maybe post credit about her. I wouldn't be surprised. Only for the theatrical runs, right?
Right.
They wouldn't do it on home release. That wouldn't make any sense. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of like maybe behind the scenes of just Carrie Fisher stuff. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it and sort of saddened to know that she's gone. She's not coming back. Ain't no way. So it is one of those things like you get to see her last performance in a Star Wars role. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
How about you, James?
No, it's like just looking at the poster that you have of her.
Oh, yeah.
That image was all around the internet after she had died, and that image itself, just that quintessential Carrie Fisher look that she had to herself, that's enough to just make you misty-eyed. And it can be just cutting scenes in a certain way that makes you feel appreciation for someone. We had the case last year where Star Trek Beyond came out.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and Anton Yelchin had died a few months beforehand, way too soon.
car accident.
Yeah, a freak car accident.
Bizarre
And,
car accident.
yeah, very bizarre. And they had a scene near the end where they were like having a toast, and Kirk said, "Here's to absent friends," and they cut to a shot of Chekhov right then and there, and just that move alone made you feel something. And of course, they had a dedication to him at the end of the credits. So, yeah, it makes me curious what they're going to do with Carrie Fisher. I know they've rolled out CGI, but are they going to manipulate some footage that they have into giving her a send off? Or
who knows?
It's like, how can they? I really don't know how they could have adapted to a situation like this, or it could just be that they use a speech that she gave, but it's before, I don't know, she leads a military attack because she is a general. Let's not forget.
She's a general.
Primarily, not a princess. She's a general. She's a military leader.
Her planet's gone.
Yeah. And she might not be one of those leaders who leads from behind. There's a line that Tom Berenger has in the movie Gettysburg where he says, "You can't lead from behind. You got to lead up front." I don't know.
Maybe so. We'll see. I'm looking forward to see what performance she gives and where that character is going to be at the end of The Last Jedi. I kind of hope they don't recut it so it seems like she dies in the movie, because that'd just be weird. And that would be way weird editing. And maybe they could splice it. Maybe that was one of their extra goals. Maybe they filmed something like that. Maybe just in case. I doubt it. But it's one of those things where I'm gonna be heartbroken when I see it, but I will enjoy what I'm watching. So it's be
Sure. And
one of
once
those
again,
things.
her being a general, I mean, you look at the number of ships that are exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all people, the storyline that are on board these ships that are getting blown up left and right. Doesn't matter what side you're on.
There's still people.
There's still people. You see, like Star Destroyers, going into the sun or into each other. Those are all people, and
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think she's over the having compassion for anybody at this point. Speaking for General Leia, I think she has seen so much and is tired of fighting the same war that she fought, right after the right after the Clone Wars, and then the Empire, and then the Battle of Yavin, and she's probably just done. She's like, you know what? I don't care who dies. Let's just end this stupid thing. Which I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe she's like, just get it done. I don't care how you do it. Just do it. That'd be cool too. I'm good with that scenario. So, it's one of those things. Well, only time will tell, and when episode 8 comes out, not soon enough.
Like 4 months or so.
Yeah. When's Christmas? About then.
Yeah.
How many shopping days until Christmas? Like 124 or something like that. Exactly. No one have a heart attack. Let's not make that happen. No one buys Christmas presents. Anyway, we're going to jump to our last story. It is yet another Han Solo film, again in the good light. If you've been following Ron Howard on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you've probably seen this. He sent out a picture of him sort of directing an R2 unit. It wasn't R2D2. It was an orange R2, and it seems that particular R2 unit was giving him a hard time, and he was kind of getting a little disgruntled with him. He also came out with another tweet about the same R2 unit, sort of, wreaking havoc on the soundboards and mixers for the shoot. He's like, I can't get no control over these droids. However, he did come out and say that to Heat Vision, so they're sort of like a blog media. They're a media outlet. He actually mentioned that the filming is coming along great with the extra shoots that they're doing. The script, they have a fantastic script, a great cast, and having a fantastic creative experience with it. Now, I think that's a little creative phrasing. Your thoughts, since you're a handy dandy writer?
Oh, I'm a writer, but not a very active and not a very good one.
I said handy dandy.
Oh, okay. Handy. Okay, I can be handy. I'll take that. There we go. I don't know. I said a while back that Ron Howard was taking like half a step forward with the first couple of tweets that he was doing. I think we've gotten to the point where it's now a full step forward.
Yeah.
Because I've been liking all the stuff he's been posting. In no particular order. He had a scene of them in like kind of a darkened set, and the director of photography was prepping a shot, and it's the same director of photography who had been on the project, so there is some continuity there.
Oh yeah, he kept the same guy.
They kept all the I think most or all the crew there, so he did that. He posted a shot of them filming a scene where I guess the Falcon is in hyperspace.
Yep.
Yeah, there's like a camera projecting the hyperspace Doctor Who type space travel wormhole thingy, whatever, onto a screen. So that's probably background for the cockpit. So he's like slowly showing them, hey, this movie's coming together. We're still moving forward. We didn't take that long of a break. It's a smooth transition. Here's what we got. And yeah, we even got all the droids. I'd also like to give a shout out to Amelia Clark, who is in this movie, and she posted a short clip where she had now reached like 1 million followers on Instagram or something, and it was Chewie. It's like, Chewie, can you make a little statement about me reaching? Yeah, just runs around, and then he runs at her like he's about to give her a hug, and she's like, no. The kid who's playing Chewie now is he's so full of energy, and he's so thankful to be in this role. He's come out before when I forget for what reason. Like I guess he personally had hit a milestone on one of his social medias, and he was saying thanks. But he came out as Chewie. It was fantastic. The dude is loving life, loving Chewie. How about you, John? Any thoughts on the phrasing of the way how he put the how filming is coming and the behind the scenes looks?
For me, the phrasing, it's Ron Howard, who's a consummate professional.
Yeah.
And Mr. Howard, if you ever need, I will willingly work for you at any time. It's just more the issue. It sounded like a stockholder's kind of like cachet.
Yeah, I think so.
I know I cite that a lot, but there was a little bit of panic I know from before. But honestly, this is a guy that's going to build confidence.
Yeah.
And I do agree. He understands how to relate media-wise. I mean, Ron Howard, controversy.
Yeah, exactly. Not many, yeah.
So he knows how to navigate the media world. He's an expert. He's a professional. This feels like, yes, everything's under control. The only thing missing is him sitting by the fireside with a droid bringing him like a milkshake from Arnold's, where he looks at the camera and goes, It
would have to be blue milk because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, something like that. That's what this really feels like to me. Is like just short of him going, full Richie Cunningham. Everything is cool.
No, I agree.
Just right on that level.
No, I totally agree. I think I do think it is a bit of phrasing that he's using because with the previous directors, they're saying they didn't get much. They didn't get enough creative control to do what they wanted, and now he's saying he's having fantastic creative experience, saying that he's in control creatively, which I think is sort of something maybe we want to hear as a director, has creative control over the project he's doing. Obviously, he is working for Lucasfilm and making a Star Wars film, and there's plenty of people already in that kitchen, if you will. So I think he's basically telling everybody, like, I got this, guys.
Yeah, it's also the fact that I know there was a little blowback.
Yes, they're above me, helping me, but I got this. It's cool.
There was we touched on it in a previous show, a little bit of blowback where they being too controlling.
Exactly.
And so, once again, that's kind of the message I'm getting. As you said.
Yeah,
yes.
Lauren Miller said it. It's like we didn't fold our socks right or something. So he's like he's more like, and Ron Howard's like, creative control. We got it. Ryan Johnson's done the same thing. He's played ball with Disney. He's like, as long as he plays ball with Disney, he has creative control over his films with the approval of Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and the Story Group. But with that being said, it is Ron Howard. He's an experienced filmmaker. He's made so many damn good movies that it's hard for me to say that has to be a particular phrase other than he's like, no, I'm creative control. That's what I'm doing.
That's what they brought me on board for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they brought me on board.
I do want to switch roles real quick and have me play the cynical guy, however, because I do want to plug a piece that ran in Variety shortly after Lord and Miller were fired. And it was a very lengthy column. I'll probably end up sharing it on social media just so we all have a reference point. But and I wish I could remember who the column writer was. But really, it was a very long lament over the fact that now we've had two cases, one involving Zack Snyder being swapped out for Joss Whedon, and now we have Lord and Miller being swapped out for Ron Howard, where it was a worry that for some major films that now we're getting to a point where directors are almost expendable. And it's kind of a dangerous precedent to set. I mean,
I will have to counter that, though.
Well, I would just say that, like on one hand, I'm happy that Ron Howard seems to be turning production around. And, I wasn't there. Maybe Lord and Miller weren't doing their job right and they deserved it. But still, there's like a little devil on my shoulder saying, you decided to hire these guys and you should have known what you were getting when you hired them. You might as well stick with it. And now we have, people working their butt off for a movie and then sometimes unceremoniously being kicked out, and you have a new guy to kind of take almost all the credit. And now it's going to lead to a very dangerous thing where with both Justice League and with the Han Solo movie, we're going to have people going back and forth saying, oh, this is clearly Lord and Miller's influence. This is clearly Zack Snyder's influence. And here's where Joss comes in.
League
and here's where Ron Howard comes in. They're both different. I'm just worried that this is going to happen again in the future. The studio mentality will be, we're going to hire this guy, he's going to work his ass off, but we're just going to fire him and then bring in some other guy to just impose our vision. I don't think
Ron Howard's cheaper than Lord and Miller, though.
It's not a money thing. It's just a creative thing. Like, we don't like the way this project was heading. We don't like this influence and this influence. We don't want the director to think for himself too much. Let's bring in our guy like halfway through.
And that's completely on the studio heads to do
exactly.
That.
But I'm just thinking about, this setting a bad precedent, and I haven't had a chance to vent on it before.
Right. Well, we'll get into it on our other show, but I will say the Justice League thing is 110% a completely different story. 100% completely different. And I will argue this on the other show. I promise. Okay. The Star Wars thing it's completely different. It was like you said. The studio heads didn't like what they were seeing. They didn't like what they were hearing, so they pulled the directors, bring a new guy in. Whose movie is it? Is it Lord Miller's? Is it Ron Howard's? What scene was influences what? Who knows? But again, I will argue the fact on the other show about it.
No, I will play the counter cynic or non-cynic here. I will just point out we have two camps here. You have the studio heads and you have directors are the God in the pulpit, which was what directors originally were, and the studio heads banked on the directors to make the movies, make the movie in quotations. Then we had an era of movie making where it's movies by committee, and I don't mean that in a bad way. No, I'm not looking for men with a mouse mask showing up at my house. I'm just pointing out this is the ebb and flow of modern cinema. There's been this tension for a long time, and I think everyone's going to have their own opinion.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. I just have my own opinions about it.
Oh yeah, just to be slightly hypocritical. I think it's all going to work out for the best. I think these two movies are actually going to be pretty good when they come out.
I think so too.
I'm just worried that in the future that it's going to lead to, again, it being acceptable for a director to be ditched halfway through production just because they want to exert their influence a little too much. But
right, again,
that's my summation.
Well, we'll talk about Justice League on our movie talk show. So.
And if you don't mind, just on the topic of Ron Howard, me and Sean had a brief back and forth about this. I'm delighted that Ron Howard's older brother, Clint Howard, will have a bit part in the Han Solo movie.
Well, to keep with tradition, he has to, right?
Yeah, exactly. Man. No, I was getting, in my 90s nostalgic vibe the other day, and on YouTube, I rewatched a episode of Monster Vision with Joe Bob Briggs, which used to take up my Saturday nights on TNT, and he had Clint Howard as a guest on his show as I watched a horror comedy movie called Ice Cream Man. Which I highly recommend. Please check that.
I have to check that one out.
It's an ice cream man going around town, and he kills children and then puts their body parts in ice cream.
That just sounds terrifying.
That's terribly cheerful. Sounds like a good film. For me, the Clint Howard thing is when I think of Mr. Howard and his brother, I'm happy to see him on film. It's just I always equate him as Star Trek. When I see Clint Howard, because he was his original role was I think his debut in media.
One of his first.
One of his first was in a Star Trek episode, but then I also remember him making part of his career of either B movies or making cameos in B movies.
He's definitely a fellow Roger Corman graduate.
Yeah, definitely. It's just kind of be really weird, and my great fear that we were discussing before the camera was on, or maybe while I was on, was I don't want to get knocked out. I don't want the fourth wall broken, especially on Star Wars films. I normally will. Someone could tell me anything about a film, even ruin the twist, like who Kaiser Sose really is. And all that. I will still watch it because I love the process. I love the process of the storytelling, more than the outcome. But then again, when I'm watching Star Wars, I want to watch Star Wars. To me, Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings, was a huge escapism, and those are my two precious jewels. I don't have much else that I hold precious.
Yeah, precious
in media. So the idea of am I going to be bumped out? But and to James' credit, we did discuss the fact that they did a wonderful job with Simon Pegg. Yes. I didn't realize it was Simon Pegg.
Yeah. And Daniel Craig too. Don't forget Daniel
Craig. I didn't even know that. So I feel more comfortable about it. But I just don't want to be watching this and go, damn, Clint Howard. And I don't mean any disrespect. I don't mean any disrespect by saying that phrase. It's just, once again, I want to be in it.
My reaction would be, oh, damn, Clint Howard.
Or I would be like, damn, Clint Howard.
I would be like, it's tradition.
Mazel tov. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
No, that's fantastic. And I like the bringing up Ron Howard's brother. That's great. Yeah. I completely forgot about that story, so that's good to bring up.
He's going to be like, I don't know where Stan Lee is on the count, but I think Clint's way ahead of him.
Ooh.
One day they're going to do look at the IMDb database, and he's going to have, he has a cameo appearance in 99% of all films made from this date forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stan Lee only does Marvel properties.
So Clint's all over the place.
Yeah. I think Stanley is like, no, I think it's more of a supporting actor role at this point.
Character actor role.
That's right. Well, I think that's all the stories we have today for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, all those fun things that helps us grow, helps y'all win things, because the more of you guys we've got, the more stuff we can give away. I'm still looking for a winner for this, guys. I've got subscribers, that just no one comments ever. So comment, please. We love you always.
Call us. Comment.
Yeah. Comment. Tweet. Or tweet at us. That's also a good way to do it. Real quick, we've got James down there. We've got Sean here. Subscribe buttons here. Episodes are here and here. And thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.